Our objectives today are to talk about the science of sound, the benefit of classroom audio, kind of the why, and then we'll get into the how, the actual hardware and equipment. We'll also talk about safe alerts, how they work, what happens during the safe alert. But understand with the safe alert, the when and why you should use it is going to be a policy decision for your district or your school about when you're going to press those buttons, what that level is that's going to say, hey, we need to go ahead and press these buttons and send that safe alert. But I'll tell you how it works and show you what it does, just so you have that understanding. But let's start with the why on classroom audio. So our goal with classroom audio is to be clear, not loud. When I do these trainings in person, I'll always get a teacher come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm plenty loud enough. I can be heard. I can raise my voice. I can yell all class period long." Well, that's wonderful. I say, listen, I coached 7, 8A football in Orange County, state of Florida. I could be heard across the field telling that official exactly how wrong they were. But loud does not equal clear. You lose clarity the louder you get. So we want teachers to be able to be heard clearly. And I joke about it being using your easy listening radio voice. In Orlando, we have a station called 1077, Magic 1077, Light Hits. And so I joke about teachers being able to talk in that mellow radio voice all day long, because you're not talking beyond your conversational level, but you're being heard. And it's like you're sitting next to every student talking at that level. You're not trying to blast their ears. You're just trying to have that clarity of speech. And in the classroom, there's a lot of challenges. So, in a normal classroom without any kind of distributed audio, the kids closest to you, they get the message. They hear you the most clearly. And so you move around the classroom so you can be heard. But as you move around, the kids that did hear you clearly before, maybe now not so much. And then also there are environmental factors that you have to speak over. So like in Florida, of course, air conditioning, very noisy in some of our schools. Some of the ones that were built in the 40s and then retrofit with air conditioners. Those things sound like Harrier jets taking off. Or you have a projector that hums, or you have something in the room that makes noise, or you're near traffic, whatever. And so of course you do the natural thing as a teacher. You go into teacher voice and you raise your voice. And so now you're battling with these environmental factors over here. Some kids are hearing you clearly, but the kids closest to you, now they're getting that fight or flight. It's like having a lightning strike or hearing an ambulance horn go off. Those kids tense up. And if they're doing this repeatedly during the day because you're raising your voice and you're not meaning to yell, but you're just trying to be heard by the back of the room, those kids are going to get that tension, that rush of adrenaline, and that's not an ideal situation for learning. That messes with their concentration. And so with the distributed audio across your classroom, having that 4-speaker or 6-speaker setup with your microphone connected to your receiver, now every kid is within 6 or 7 feet of an audio source, and they're hearing you clearly. And it makes a huge difference, because now some of the kids that are sitting further away, they're like, whoa, that's right there. And it's like you're standing, it's like you're looking over their shoulder. It's really fantastic. It's a great classroom management tool. The kids don't have to ask as many questions because they've heard the instructions more clearly. And also, it is a universal design for learning and MTSS Tier 1 accommodation to use your classroom audio system. We wouldn't teach reading in a dark classroom or one source of light for the whole classroom. We got lights all over the room. We got the room lit up. They're fluorescent lights, but hey, it's light. They're lights all over the room. Or if you have one of those old school classrooms where you have an entire wall of windows, that's also effective. Another thing is when you raise your voice, you lose consonant power. Consonants carry the meaning of words, whereas vowels carry the energy. And so when you raise your voice, you can raise the vowel level. I usually do this in person, and I do a little choir director spiel, and I have everyone make a sound like an aw sound. Everyone goes aw, and it sounds really great. And everyone's happy with it. It's kind of funny, and we say it even louder because it's really easy to lift up a vowel. To lift up a consonant when you're just making that or it's more the vowel sound on the end of that consonant that you hear. And so the kids in the back, they're not sure if you're going shopping or shopping because that's so close, it becomes unclear. And there's so many words in the English language that are like that rhyme, and you lose meaning when it's unclear. So having the classroom audio system clears that up quite a bit. And then, of course, there's the research. And there is just megabytes of research. I used to say there's files and notebooks full of research, but it's all computerized. And so we've got all of this research that's proven that not just our classroom audio, but any classroom audio situation is going to help with these things. Ours is particularly good because we got the distributed audio, we got speakers, we got 4 speakers around the room, 6 speakers, 8 speakers around the room, depending on how big the room is. But the one I really want to point out, and I kind of mentioned it before, is that 43% reduction in teacher throat discomfort. So talking about losing my voice every year for 10 years and then not for the next 7. If I have to go and train and I'm in a room that doesn't have a receiver for my mic, ooh, that's a long day of training. I am gassed by the end of that day. But if I have my mic, I'm in much better shape. You will have more energy at the end of the day if you're using your microphone in your classroom because you won't be constantly having to push that voice all through the day. And you will definitely feel a difference. It reduces absenteeism because you don't get sick as often. I mean, so many times we get sick as teachers because in our throat, we're done. We just, oh, I'm exhausted. And that exhaustion starts here. You're still going to get exhausted. I get that. That's part of the job, but at least it won't be here. It'll be less. You'll have fewer times that you're exhausted because it won't be your voice going out first. So that's the why. And there's lots of great reasons. Some of them are personal, some of them are academic. It's great for student learning, the literacy gains, the increased engagement, test scores, all of this, all the research on these things. There's a ton of good reasons to do it for the students, but there's also some really good reasons to do it as a teacher, personally, to use this technology. Also, it's really easy. And we'll talk about the how. Go ahead and memorize this slide, everyone, quickly. The most important thing I can tell you from this is at the bottom, there's a line that says charge every night. I trained in Albertville, Alabama at all of their schools. And every training I did, the tech director handed out a laminated sheet that said, charge me or mute me or charge me. So that when the teachers got to their door, they would either put their microphone on mute, which is just pressing the power button, that mutes it. So if they're talking to an administrator or another teacher outside, they're not broadcasting back into their classroom, or charge me so that they would go back and put their microphone on the charger for overnight so they wouldn't wear it home. When I was at Ocoee as a teacher, I would forget I'm wearing my mic because it's really lightweight. And these are much lighter than what I had at Ocoee. At Ocoee, I had a AA battery inside of mine, so it was pretty heavy. They were heavier mics. These are really light. So I would wear it home, and my wife would say, "What are you wearing?" And then I would realize, oh no, I don't have a charger for this microphone. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The chargers you have for this mic are a lot more universal. So if you do happen to wear it home, you'll still be able to charge it. Most likely you probably have a cable you don't even know that it fits the mic, but it does. But if you charge it, if you make it a habit to put it on the charger every night in your classroom, that won't be an issue. So some of the functionality, the mics are linked with their receivers, and the receivers look like kind of like an egg. I actually had someone describe it as a hand sanitizer dispenser, but it doesn't dispense any hand sanitizer. Plus, a lot of times it's up the wall 8 or 10 feet. So that'd be really hard to dispense hand sanitizer at that height. Your microphones will probably be linked already to your classroom, but let's say you went to a different classroom, you were going to team teach or you were doing a special event, you are able to link your microphone to a different classroom. And then when you return to your classroom, you'll need to relink it to your classroom. So you start with your microphone turned off, and then there's a little link button. It's the only button. You have LED lights, and then there's a little link button there. And if you click that, a yellow light will start to blink. And then on your microphone, with the microphone turned off, you hold down the REC button and then the power button, and that will put it into linking mode. You'll have a blinking yellow light there. When that light turns green, there'll also be an audible beep in your classroom, little tone, and your mic is then linked with the receiver in that room. If you have a blinking yellow, that means it's trying to link. If it's blinking red, that means it's not linked. When you've got green and green, you're good to go. Green is good to go, and that works for you. Now, like I mentioned before, there is a power and a mute button on the mic. The power button, it's the same button, so if you press and hold it, it will turn on or turn off the microphone. You press and hold it for about 3 or 4 seconds, it'll power on. Hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, it'll power off. If you just click it real quick, that will mute the microphone. And you're saying, why would I need to mute the microphone? Well, there's a couple of really good reasons. First of all, the mics are based on XD or DECT technology. And that may not mean a whole lot to you, but it meant a whole lot to me when I was in, say, 6th or 7th grade. And to that point, our telephones were all hooked to the wall with a cord. Some of you remember those days when there was no cordless phone. And then my dad brought home a Panasonic cordless phone based on XD or DECT technology. And then we could talk on the phone wherever we were in the house, and it could reach that receiver. That's how these mics work. They will go through walls. So that's why you have a mute button, because if you step out of your classroom and you're talking to an administrator in the hall, and even if you close the door, you're still broadcasting back into your classroom. So that's why you want the mute button. Also, if your bathroom is within, say, 40 to 60 feet of your classroom and your mic is on, you might be broadcasting back into your classroom from the bathroom. So make sure you know about the mute button so that you're not broadcasting, sharing information. Because if you're chatting it up with your teacher across the hall, and you can tell because when you press the mute button, the own light right here, this will blink green. So you can check each other. You can say, hey, you're broadcasting, put it on mute. Because if you don't see a blinking green light, they're off mute. And so if you leave it on mute for about 5 minutes, the mic will power off. But that's okay. Then you just power back on when you're ready to start class. So when the mic is in use, you've got a green light on both the battery and the link lights. When the light starts to turn red here under battery, it'll go yellow and then it'll turn red. That means you're running out of power. You need to charge the mic. If you charge your mic every night, you will never see this red light because you'll have more than enough power to get through the day. Even if you're teaching an extra class period or two, you're going to have more than enough power to get through the day if you charge every night. Now, you also control the volume of your microphone from the microphone. It's not just a mic, it's a remote control. So if you press the select button on your mic, the own light is going to turn green, and then you can use the up and down arrows to control the volume of your microphone. Now, if you have student microphones or a second microphone, another teacher comes in your classroom and y'all are working together, you can control the second microphone by hitting select a second time, and it lights up other, and then you can control the volume of the other device. So usually that's a student microphone. Sometimes it's another lanyard microphone. But either way, this is not just a mic, it's also a remote control. And using those up and down arrows to control it, you'll find the balance in your classroom. What you want to be is like just barely able to hear yourself, just barely, because that means you're not blasting the students. They're sitting under the speakers. Your teaching area generally isn't directly under the speakers. That should be over the students. And that's the way that the system is designed. So if you're just barely hearing yourself, you're good to go. Also, maybe have a colleague help you set that when you're doing it the first time. Once it's set, you're good to go really for the whole year. Now, like I said before, you charge with a pretty common cable. It's USB-C, and that's kind of the new standard. I know all the new iPhones use it. A lot of the Google Android phones use the USB-C charging cable. So let's say you forgot and wore it home. You still may be able to charge your mic at night when you get home if you have a USB-C plug. But in your classroom set, you will have at least one charging cable. If you have one microphone, you'll have a charging cable and a charging block. If you have a teacher mic and a student mic, you will have two charging cables, and the block can still accept two cables at once. You can charge, if you have two mics, you can charge them both at the same time. The battery light will blink while it's charging, so you'll know it's charging. It'll be solid red when it's fully charged. Now, you can still use your mic even if it's not a full charge. Let's say you accidentally, you didn't charge it overnight and you're using it, but you put it on the charger, it's blinking red. First period starts, you're like, okay, I'm going to use my mic. I don't have a full charge. I'm still going to use it. And then you teach for 2 periods. The light might turn yellow, and then you charge it during your planning period. Again, it's still blinking, blink, blink, blink. That's okay. You can take it off the charger, use it again, get through to lunch, charge it again, get through the end of the day, charge it overnight. Next day, you're good to go. So you don't have to have a full charge to use it. Now, one of the really cool features, and this was something that was asked for year after year as I was training on classroom audio, the microphone can launch an intercom call. So let's say you're standing in the back corner of the room and you need to call the front office and you can't get to the call button in the front corner of the room. The little circle button that says INT on it, you can see I have it circled here in red. That will call the intercom. It's the same as pressing the call button on your wall plate. It will launch an intercom call. Now, understand that when you talk to the front office, you're not talking to your classroom microphone, your teacher microphone. You're actually talking to the ambient mic here on the wall. So if you're standing in the back of the room, but that mic is in the front of the room, you still may want to raise your voice a little bit. Say, hey, the front office, how can we help? You say, hey, we need a janitor down here. Somebody got sick, or we need the nurse. Kid got stung by a bee. You have that ability though to call the intercom from your microphone. Now, there's also an auxiliary line input, and this is great because you can plug in a 3.5 cable into your microphone and then plug it into an audio device, whether that's your phone or an MP3 player or your laptop, and broadcast audio wirelessly through your classroom. So you have this ability, you plug in that cable, and then you're able to just play music or play a recorded speech or something like that from your laptop, from your phone, and it will connect. And that way, you're not trying to plug into a wall socket or something like that. You're able to just play it there from your teacher mic.
Hey, Clint,
You
the
can.
same thing with the interactive panel. So every classroom has a smart or clear touch panel. So same thing. Plug it into
Oh,
the
great.
back of the panel and the microphone of this one or the student one, and they can hear the videos clearly.
Right. Yes, and that's a great use, especially with the, like you mentioned the student microphone. That's a great use for the student microphone because that way you still have your teacher microphone available for audio. So yeah, plugging in the audio in on the student microphone, which you see right here, you can have that same function and it'll broadcast that panel through your classroom audio speakers.
Also, I saw something really cool at one of my schools. So, like some of the STEM kids they 3D designed a holder for all the microphones
Yes.
to go on the back of the panel for the student mic. So A, there's a place for it to be throughout the day, but B, it holds it there with that aux cord. So you
Yes.
don't have to do that, obviously. You can get any type of a command strip and a cup or something.
And that's a great point. Yeah, the creating those little holders. And the other cool feature about the student microphone that you can't do with the teacher microphone is the student microphone can be plugged in and still work as a microphone. When you plug in the teacher mic, you can't still talk into it. But with the student mic, you can plug it in and have the audio in connected so that you don't have the mic lose power midway through the day. So like fourth period, oh no, I don't have any power in my mic because I left it on there. I left it on the smart board for 3 days and now it's out of power. No, you can keep it connected with the charger so that you constantly have power there on the student microphone. Yeah, and that's a fantastic use of that student mic when you're trying to broadcast something for sure. Now, some other things on the student mic, I mentioned that it has that same port. It has an anti-roll design. It's really cool. If you drop it, it's flat on two sides, so it can't roll off a desk. However, if it does fall, it's durable. We've been in the education business for 45 years. Student microphones are built fairly robustly. They will last. If you drop one, it's going to be okay. Now, obviously, you can't pick it up and slam it down on concrete. That would break it. But if it just falls off a desk or a student accidentally drops it, chances are it's going to survive very well. We've had several years of building these things. Now, on the mic itself, it has a push to talk button, which when you press that button, the mic becomes live. And when you take your thumb off of it, it's no longer broadcasting, but it also has a toggle where you can turn it on live because you're going to have students. Some students will have different abilities and will be able to either sit there and hold the button. Other students won't be, and you'll need to turn it on live. Or maybe you're doing an open mic session, or you're doing a debate or something, and so you want the mic to catch multiple students, and so you leave that talk button on so that it capture their voices. Now, a couple of microphone tips, great ways to use your microphone. Number one is to keep your microphone about 4 to 6 inches from your mouth. So you can either do the hang loose Hawaii and put it to your mouth and your microphone, or you can make a letter L, but in a nice way, put it to your mic, put it to your mouth, and that's about where the microphone should rest. You don't want to eat the microphone. This is the craziest thing. Sometimes when I do these presentations, I hand the mic to the principal to start the meeting, and they'll immediately hold it to their mouth like this, and the audio is all distorted because they're too close. And so, but if you wear it hanging on your neck like this properly, it's going to work right, and it's going to have clear audio, 4 to 6 inches from your mouth. It'll pick you up. It's a very powerful microphone. And like I mentioned before, if you hear yourself, you're probably too loud. So you just want to be right on that border of being able to hear yourself in your classroom. Be a friend. Tell a neighbor if they're too loud. Give them hey, let's work on your volume a little bit. Let's get this turned down a little bit so we're not hearing your lessons in my classroom. And once again, your mic will work through walls. Use the mute button. It's just a one click there on the power button. It's the bottom of the microphone, so it's easy to find. One click and you're muted. One click and you're unmuted. So any questions on the how of your microphone? We haven't talked about safe yet. We're about to go into that.
If the teacher microphone was echoing in the classroom, what to do?
Probably first thing I would do is check that volume. Make sure the volume's not too high. Other than that, it's kind of a case by case to see what the environment is.
So it
That's
could also be
probably
like sound issues from the actual speakers, which can be adjusted
right.
via the
Yes.
kiosk in the office, or IT
Yes.
can do that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they can put in a help request, a ticket, and then can you use it on the playground?
There is a device called an XD Solo.
That
If
did
you
not
have
come with ours. If you're on the playground, it really depends on how close your playground is to the school. Some schools, yes, it does work. JCPS did not purchase what he's talking about. It is possible, but we do not have that in JCPS. So your school would still need to use your normal means of whatever you use, walkies, phones, whatever, for emergencies on the playground.
So the Safe Alert system, or the Safe system, is our signal alert for education, and it's a way to quickly connect between the classroom and the front office, or really anywhere on campus that's covered by safe density. And when it was mentioned how close you were to the school building, that does matter because there's a certain range that safe will reach. And it's pretty broad. It's about 60 feet, 50 feet, depending on concrete or metal or obstacles that are between you and the receivers, where it will receive the alerts. If you're close enough, yes, it would actually pick up the safe alert and let the front office know that assistance is needed. So the way it works is in the classroom, the teacher, and actually really anywhere on campus, but the teacher is going to press the buttons on the sides of their microphone and hold them for about 3 seconds. So it's hard to even see the buttons on the side. That's by design. They're pretty stealthy. When those buttons are pressed, a red light is going to show on the mic. Now, the mic does not have to be turned on for this to work. Even if your mic is turned off, you can press the buttons and hold them. The mic will power on and then send the safe alert. Now, in the classroom, you will see the lights on the receiver that were green. They will turn to all red. In the front office, they will get what can best be compared to a purge horn alert, and the screen will change to the safe alert map, and it will light up the classroom where the alert was launched, and they will have a button to click that says acknowledge. Now, you can see a camera view here, but if you don't have the cameras in the classroom, there won't be a camera view.
We do not have the cameras in JCPS.
And it's the same thing with the emergency button. If the button is pressed on the wall plate, once again, turns the lights red, brings it up on the console, launches the alert. And from there, in the front office, they will click acknowledge. And when acknowledge is pressed, the lights in the classroom will turn to green, red, green. That lets you know that help is on the way. And there's a really good reason for this. This was actually a feature that was developed with the help of first responders. I was never a first responder, but I was a lifeguard at one point. And I learned CPR. And one of the, I think it's the second step of CPR, once you check airway and breathing, is you say, you're looking at the crowd of people, you're like, what's your name? Go get help. And the fact that you've got their name allegedly psychologically says they're going to come back. So that's kind of giving you that notion that, yes, I do have help coming. So I'm going to manage this situation differently than I would if I thought I was just by myself for the whole time. Same thing for teachers in the classroom. Help is coming. So you're going to manage that situation differently than you would if you just thought you were on an island in your classroom. So green, red, green on acknowledge. Then once the event is over, they will click end event. Your teacher view lights turn back to green and everything's done. Now, this also works if you're just in the hallways or on the way, to and from. If there's a reason to hit these buttons to launch a safe alert, you can still press them. You're not going to see a receiver because you're not near a receiver. You're not connected to your classroom's receiver. You might be too far away. That's okay. It will still show on the front office your location. It'll grab any receivers nearby and it will triangulate where you are. So whether you're in your classroom, whether you're out of your classroom, so it's kind of a good idea to keep this on. You have the ability to launch a safe alert wherever you are. If there's something that you forgot or you wanted to know more about or you needed a reference, we do have a self-paced interactive module. And so this is a link you can go in and it is a play-by-play. It walks you through. It's not a video. It's actually interactive. You have to click on the screen to move through things. So if you want to know, hey, how do I change the audio? How do I turn up the volume on the student microphone? You can find that in the classroom audio video and it'll walk you through step by step and it'll show you how to use. It's not hard, but we forget things. We got a lot going on, especially beginning of the school year.
For everybody that's here, there were a lot of battery boost questions. For these smart charge batteries, you won't damage them, leaving them plugged in all the time. However, if at the end of the school year you did not do a full charge, it's possible that they'll be all the way dead. And yes, they do need a smart charge. Audio Enhancement does sell these. Basically a battery booster for like a camera, like the old school cameras we used to use. But before you run and purchase one, we've been giving this to many of our school leaders and bookkeepers just to have at least one in the building. Also, I have several, as does Russ Hockenberry and Don Bacon, and we are the tech specialists that support your principals. So we have them as well that we're giving to schools to boost a few batteries, but it doesn't happen all the time, but it is possible. So that's an example of what that battery boost. There's a reason why they're placed where they are. The buttons are placed low, and I know that little fingers can reach them, but we have to be ADA compliant so that the call button and the security, that is low on purpose. And they're also placed in spaces where if there was an intruder, a teacher could hit that button and get their students and themselves in the corner of the room away from windows. So it's placed there for a reason. No, they can't be moved, unfortunately. just due to that reason, but also it's very expensive. Also, something to add, JCPS also did not purchase teacher mics, student mics for cafeterias and gymnasiums. However, many of our schools are purchasing that extra. So that is an option. So right now you have speakers in the gym. You'll be able to hear announcements, but you do not have the capability for that mic. And depending on the gym and cafeteria, if the ceilings are too high or the space is too large, it wouldn't work well anyway.
The XD Solos are a one speaker, but it's a big speaker that connects to the mic. It doesn't do safe alerts, but for PE, for outdoor activities, those aren't super price prohibitive and they are really useful and the sound is great.
Oh, yes. So that was the other question. Someone else asked about taking it outside. So Creative Image, Trish Bradley is our vendor partner and she can get quotes for those things. She's who can help, but your principal and bookkeeper will know them well. All right. Well, if there's anything else, again, you can ask your school leaders. They can reach out to their technology specialists and IT. We can help. And Clint and Lindsay, thanks so much for being here today.